This is Lit, Leadership, Impact, and Technology. These episodes are with myself, Rob Z. So I have 20 plus years in broadcasting. I'm a content creator. I'm a digital expert. And my partner in crime for branding, for marketing, for consulting online is Kyle Damon. Kyle, what do you do? What are you all about?
Hey everybody, 15-year digital branding expert. I've launched several national brands, and I'm here to help everybody change the way we do business and earn money in this world.
When we talk about LIT, Leadership, Impact, Technology, when you have great leaders using technology properly, they create huge impacts in their business, in their industries, in their lives, and they create a mission behind that. Great leaders use technology to create a massive impact. How can you become the best leader that you can be and use your leadership to harness new technology to make that massive impact in lives, in business? You ready to get into this, man?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
This is Rob Z Radio.
This week, we're feeling pumped up. We've done a month of Lit Lives on Facebook at Rob Z Radio. And tomorrow, we're heading to see Dean Graziosi in Lancaster, PA. How are you feeling about that?
Going to get our education on, network with some great people, have a good time. I'm excited.
Right now, I think the point where we're talking tonight is that you got to go and get around people who are doing amazing things.
Yep.
Way higher level than you are.
Right.
And the more you do that, the more you get excited about it, and the more it just naturally kind of can happen.
The most powerful force in the world is the human's need or desire to imitate the people in their surroundings. So the fastest way to get what you want is to surround yourself by people already doing the thing that you want.
Yeah. Seeing it in action. And the thing is, every time, how many of those seminars have you gone to? Over?
Oh yeah, 20, I don't know, more.
Anytime you ever go, whenever you leave, you always feel good.
It's good energy. Yeah.
There's always good energy happening. Mm-hmm. And when it's free, especially. So these events, I guess, are happening all over the country, whether it's Dean Graziosi or Kevin O'Leary.
Just go to your Facebook events page and you can find all kind of stuff.
What is it? I guess my question to you is, when did you start realizing that is what you had to do? To go and find, mentors and people who were years ahead of you and try to copy that? Yeah,
I think, when you grow up in maybe a small city or a small town, and there's even people in bigger cities that feel isolated as well, but it's a little bit more accessible when you live in a big city, I think.
Yeah.
But when you live in a place where there's just not a whole lot going on, and you sort of have a desire for expansion, a desire for learning, and wanting to go beyond your family or what they did in their lives. And that's, to me, you recognize at a certain point you have to, or else you won't. You'll keep telling the same stories and the same excuses and running the same track.
And everybody around you is also doing that. So it makes it really hard.
To
see your way out of it. That's a huge part of the country, are people who are living in small towns more than in big cities. And that's the mentality that happens. Now, obviously, there are people who branch out. But I think for myself personally, I'm speaking just from my own life story of living in the same town my whole life. Mm-hmm. Over the past 4 years that I've been actively going to those kind of conferences, not going to concerts, not going to wrestling events, things that were fun at one time, but it's time for seeing somebody who's going to take you to the next level because they've already gone to the next level.
For every person, that age is different in their lives, but almost everybody will have that experience where they're just tired of things the way they are. And you hit a certain boiling over point where I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do what I need to do. Mm-hmm. And, this isn't, fortunately, we live in an age where it means getting off your butt and going to a conference. It doesn't mean going out and doing anything that's life-threatening, where in the old days, you had to do certain things that were scary or whatever. We live in a very safe age where, I was talking about this on one of my videos the other day, we have one of the most innate instincts in us is to not go against the tribe. Mm-hmm. Whatever tribe you were raised in, on average and just by the roll of numbers, is they probably weren't that much of an achiever crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of the things we were raised around is you really want to, be careful of that, because we want to conform to the group. And
it just comes naturally. Because that's how people survive. You stay together in a pact and you have to fight everybody else, and that's how things were going for a long time until right now,
thousands of years, or exactly.
We're in this odd spot where it's man, now we have all this comfort. At least we do. I mean, other parts of the world are still going through that in a very real way, and that's horrible. But I think when you have this opportunity because these things are happening. You can go and level up. The American life is not that much of a struggle, especially the lives you and I came from, coming from a small town. And of course you have issues, but you're the only thing that's holding you back.
For sure.
There's nobody trying to attack you. And I mean,
in the old days, it was if you went against your tribe, which means if you're going to business seminars and sales meetings and marketing things, and you're learning and you're climbing,
and it's challenging, it's stressful,
and your family might say, well, what are you going to that for? Or don't go to that, they're going to steal your money, or why you go waste your time. But like a lot of times that's conversations that people have to get through to go do these things. And if you're sitting in that spot, you're going to encounter fear to get over that. Now, here's the thing. Those people are not going to kick you out of a tribe. You're not going to be in the wilderness getting eaten by wolves. Like the feelings that you feel aren't valid in the sense that they are valid that you're feeling them, but they're not valid in the sense that your body's trying to keep you alive, and it doesn't know the difference. All it knows is that for almost as long as you've been a human, or your genetics have been human, it's all about, okay, we're going to keep you safe. And so you're fighting a genetic old pattern, but you can break that by repetition and just continuing to go out and doing your thing and learning and picking yourself up and keeping moving.
Yeah, absolutely. That is I get why it's there, but at the same time, the more you can let that go and see what's really going on,
right,
it's so much easier.
Yeah.
It's so much better. And the more you figure out, okay, the goal is to make something that other people can use and it actually helps them too. That's the goal. If you can do that, and it's got to be something that you're really passionate about, then you can do anything you want because you're helping people and you're getting that satisfaction.
I was talking to Rachel earlier, and we were talking about, okay, what podcasts are you listening to? And maybe you're in a situation where you have kids or whatever, and you can't break out that often, but you can always be plugging into podcasts just like you're doing right now. Continue to do that. I say saturate your mind in positive and growth-oriented information, and then you'll actually begin to. It just almost happens then. Sooner or later, you're going to get that opportunity. And because you've been doing the work in the gym, so to speak, you've been doing the sets and reps, as you like to say, Rob.
Yeah.
You're going to have the strength to go out and do the things when the opportunity comes your way.
Yeah, just and it's fun. That's the thing. You gotta find what's fun.
You gotta find what you like.
If you find what you like and you just do it a lot, it's stressful, of course. It's still going to be difficult. You got to make money and all this stuff, but it's right there sitting in front of all of our faces. And that's why doing these sorts of things, these events are important. And I've also thought, I look at like Tim Ferriss, who went and would travel to Arnold Schwarzenegger to interview him for a podcast. Because and I'm sure he paid him. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. But I would offer, I'd throw $25,000 down to, do a podcast or more with Schwarzenegger. Arnold, that'd be crazy. And that is, anybody can do that right now. We live in such a rare piece of time.
Even in the last 5 years,
it's crazy.
Yeah. It's just like, if you want to, it's like Tarzan, right? Like if you see somebody over there, you throw a rope around them in a way, like it's got to be valuable to them. Like you don't ever connive somebody. Here's the thing, doing business in the social age has made everything super transparent. The only way to get ahead is just by doing great things for others and just doing great work yourself. And if you play that game long enough, you'll build the equity and the clout that you need in the social space to have a great career in whatever you want to do. Yeah,
it's there for you. And people will say, because this is one of the objections about going to a conference or anything like that, or buying a program online, how do I trust the person? That's what you hear from, that's the thing I always hear. It's like, I'm not going to pay $1,000 for this program or for this ticket to go to this event,
right?
Whatever that might be, because what am I going to get out of it? And they have no idea. And if you just take a chance on it, you're going to figure out, oh, okay, this is going to take me to another level because I paid money. It's driving me forward to do something new, just like everybody else there is doing.
Right.
And you're putting yourself around all those people. Eventually, it's going to have to rub off, and you're going to, because everybody, I think, naturally wants to do their own thing, create something amazing, and have a lot of fun living their life. That's the point.
We all want pretty basic things. We want food, water, and shelter. We want our basic comforts, and then we want to do work that's meaningful to us. We want to have a good time with our family, whoever that is. Some of us, our blood family is not healthy and good to be around.
Sometimes, just people we enjoy being around.
Exactly. We want to be around people we enjoy being around, and we want to help them grow and succeed and grow ourselves. And if you can cover those basics in whatever way that is for you, and there's a lot of talk about making a bunch of money or driving this car or that car, but I can tell you for every one person that has that, there's several people who aren't happy in that situation as well. And, money's nice and not having it can make life hard, but outside of that, you got to be doing what you love, because the money gets old. Even if, there's high paid professionals all over every city, large and small, and they're miserable. They're not happy. Their family life is a wreck. It's not all about chasing after the goals and the dreams, but build the substance on your way too, for sure. You got to have good people you like being around.
Yeah. I look at the Tony Robbins, I think, just one of the person I look at as how did that guy live his life?
Yeah.
And I kind of just am naturally just kind of following it because he's so much fun just to learn everything that he has to say. But watching his progression through life, all he does is just keep giving back and he keeps getting more. It's a cycle. So for somebody like myself I was selfish, and I still am selfish, but I was very selfish for most of my life. I was like almost an only child for like 7 or 8 years. And I've lost a sense of that because I've learned that if I just turn my attention to everybody else and just help anybody around me, which you naturally want to do, but you have all these walls up that stop you from doing it. And when those walls come up, you're like, I'm not gonna go help somebody. I can't do that. It might feel weird.
Yeah.
But once you start doing it, it's like, wow, okay, this feels great, and it's coming back to me every single time because nobody does not want that kind of energy. Now, somebody in your life might say they don't. They actually do underneath. We all do. So the more you can create that for others, it just happens to you, and then it just keeps going. And it's such a simple model to follow because I've always been concerned with how can I be happy all the time. That's when I was a kid. I remember
interesting. Yeah,
coming out of like being a little kid. I remember thinking that, and I feel like I'm getting back there. Because you just it's a simple formula. It's just we get hit with so much shit all the time that it's like,
well, yeah, I think if you're in the corporate world, or if you work at a job where there's people around you that you don't necessarily jive with, first thing you want to do is check in with yourself, because a lot of times if you have reflections out in your world of people that you don't get along with, a lot of times it's about the issues we have within ourselves that we have to look at. However, Rob and I have been able to transition into our own careers and things, so we manage our time and our people we're around much easier, and that's the promise. And if there's anything that I'm here to talk about in terms of my mission in the world and that sort of thing, I want to create leaders. And Rob, I know your mission is similar, and that's what this whole podcast and leadership, impact, and technology is about. Is especially this day and age, Rob, the tools and the software and the skills that with your smartphone, you can go out and make videos for small businesses. And this is what Rob and I keep talking about. Content producers are in a huge shortage. And if you have a smartphone, if you have a knack for telling stories, if you want to do social media, if you're good with graphics, if you like video, like if you like writing, like there's so many things you can do for businesses.
Anything that you want to do or anything that you like to do is being done online, and somebody's making money.
Somebody's getting paid to do it.
Guarantee you could find like lawnmower repair, like video series you could buy online or a YouTube series.
It doesn't,
because it's all out there. You just got to pick something you like. And that might be the hardest part because my sister, and I love her to death, but she picks so many different things. I swear she has had like 10, 12 different ideas that she's tried, but doesn't, and then always has another one that she's talking about next. And I have always said to her, just go with one thing. And she has a solid idea. She paints pictures of dogs because her dog died. It's called Ollie's Heart. And I love that idea. I tell her like that's the one to go with.
Yeah.
But she keeps like, oh, I don't know. What about this and this?
Non-committal. When there's an experimentation phase, sometimes you have to grow through that part. And it doesn't, again, this isn't about what you should be doing.
But you have to
16.
grow through it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a period of your life. That's maybe a couple years.
But the more actively you engage that, the faster you'll process through it.
Yeah, definitely.
And again,
try not to spend too much money while doing it, right? Unless you're making money. But if you're just starting new businesses, blowing lots of cash, it could.
That's a whole different deal there. If you're spending money on it, be careful with that, because you can almost there's hardly a business, work from home business you can do a work from home business without risking any real money. $50 for this here, maybe $100 for that there, but you shouldn't. This day and age, this is what I'm teaching in my video training series now. Like, the whole business model thing has changed. Like, what's being taught in schools right now is like your grandfather's business, and that doesn't exist anymore. You don't need to spend a bunch of money to start a business. You don't have to go into a bunch of debt. You don't have to do those things to make it, in your own way in life now.
Yeah. I just had a thought while you were saying that. I always think of people who say, I'm going to open a restaurant. I'm opening a pizza shop. I'm like, oh, geez,
not another pizza shop.
Opening a bar. Like, oh man, I feel bad for you because you're going to have it's going to be
a rough crowd. Yeah.
That first 5 years, if you make it, are going to be tough. just to break even, to make money. Like, so you want to sell pizza to people. Why not start doing YouTube pizza videos and just make pizzas? Because you could have your own flair to it, or it could just be like an instructional video making pizzas. Like, you could just watch somebody do it, and you could use that as a platform, as content, or to sell pizza online, or to get hired somewhere at a nice pizza place, like an upscale pizzeria. It's all of the, back in the day, not all of the options were there. Right. You were not able to do what you can do right now ever in the course of history. So now, if you do figure it out, you can do it for free, just with an internet connection, and change everything. Oh yeah. But people are still stuck in that old mentality.
You have to evolve your mindset, right? Or your family's telling you this or this or this, or somebody's telling you this or this about what you should and shouldn't do. And the question is, have they built a business in the last several years? In most cases, no. I mean, there's a handful, a small percentage of the population that have started companies in the last 3 years.
But it's not to be rude to your family or anything. It's just like, well, they've never done that, so I can't take their opinion.
I'm not going to listen to somebody how to roller skate if they never roller skated before.
Exactly. Yeah. Precisely.
Or maybe rollerblade. Depends on the decade, right?
Either or, yeah. I was down with the blades. They're bad. I think what we're talking about, though, all circles back around to, we're going to this Dean Graziosi event tomorrow, and it just got me thinking, how many people that I know actually go to these events, right? That I've met, and this is just living in a small town, but everybody that I've met, I don't know anybody who's ever gone to a live event like that. Well, maybe like 2 or 3 people. And that's crazy. My whole life growing up, I never heard about any of that kind of stuff. Never heard about Tony Robbins until I was in my 20s, So we live in such a rare time. The information's there. The people are there for you to learn from. Just make sure you have to find somebody you trust. And I think that's the big issue, is the trust factor. If you find somebody, how do you, that's a question for you. Who's somebody that you follow that you trust 100%?
Here's the thing. You do have to find mentors, even if they're digital at first. This podcast is a great place to start because you can get tuned into information that's, going to lead somewhere. It's not just, we're not just sitting here talking about sports or just, and there's a time for that. There's a time for recreation.
But we're not the best either in any way, shape, or form. We're learning. And that's the fun part.
But here's where you learn. You learn by, like we're about to do, to go to an event. Oftentimes the people you meet at these things, you'll connect with time and time and time again. So networking is definitely key, but it all starts with something you're interested in, uniquely passionate about. And I want to go back to the pizza shop analogy, because a lot of times we think we want to do the things we think we want to do, but they're not really what we want to do. And
it's something based on what we want to do.
You got to distill it down out of what you think it is and what society taught you that it is and what this guy said you should be doing and what your advisor said you should be doing, because to make the money, they should be making the money and, and all those things. But what you want to do really is boil that down into what are the core components. I like working with people. I like being creative with my mind. I like, doing video. I like telling stories. There's a couple core things that if you get those right and kind of detach from the rest of the I don't know what you want to call it, the details or what you think it's going to look like, and just start getting into one seed of passion and just growing that out, then you'll realize that it wasn't that far away from you as what you think it is. Oh, I've got to go do this, and then I've got to go be a professional this, and I got to go move to California and LA and be an actor. Like, you don't have to do all those steps to get started. You got to start where you are with the tools you have, or you'll always be putting it off till tomorrow. And that's a big key, because the longer you wait, the more it never comes, and so on down that circle. Yeah, well said, man. I agree. And you might be asking yourself also, because I would be hearing this information 5-10 years ago. I'm 36, but like, if you've never heard the information, you can't. It's hard to believe, right? So, and it's hard to figure out. Okay, well, how do I figure that out? I don't know what that thing is that I'm going to do. It's my meant to be thing, my passion. Episode 401 of the podcast, I have I've talked about it a bunch of times with you around, like on seminars and stuff, but it's a 4-question formula. And if you study it and think about it enough, you will get a sense of what that right thing is to do. Like, well, what did you want to do whenever you were a kid? What about you? When you were like 12, what did you want to do? 12, it was probably race car driver. I think that was my big one, which I do have plans to do that, although I don't need to do that full time. Kyle's an ex-badass motocross. I used to drink Monster Energy drinks and ride dirt bikes around. Mullet. Did you have a mullet? Kyle. No mullet, though. Yeah. Yeah, but I think
It's there if you start paying attention to it.
The seed is in, you already know it in a certain way, but I think there's I call it like what the universe or what God wants you to do. There's never a direct path. Like if it's always a dance, and you got to enjoy that journey, because if you're waking up every day expecting to do, and getting mad if you don't get to do what you expect to do, like you have to roll with it. You have to ebb and flow with it. It's never a direct path, is it?
No, and that's the idea is surrender. And you might hear the word surrender, and I always heard it and thought that sounds horrible. What am I surrendering? Like that sounds ridiculous. But now that I understand what it means, it's hard. I'm not doing it a lot, but I understand it. Like you have to surrender to what is happening to you right now, like literally right now, because that's all there is. And all the memories and all the things you think about in your head, they're distracting you. They're projections. They're not accurate. They're not. That's the best way to describe it. They're not accurate. And you get stuck in patterns that aren't accurate for reality and for your life.
Yeah. Most of us live too much in the past or too much in the future. And how's that saying go? If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're sad, you're living in the past. And if you're in the present moment, you're probably fairly happy. And that's an interesting thing. I don't get too woo-woo with that. And I think there's something to be said for that, and processing old things that you haven't dealt with. But I think again, get creating what you love to do. Is that painting? And maybe you won't be a professional painter, but if you have the urge, here's the thing: follow that spark and that what do you call that? Like that little, you have a little whisper in you about what you should be doing, and it might be painting for a bit.
Like when you're sitting on the couch watching a third episode of a show, and your body's telling you, like, you should be
get up and move.
You get those thoughts of like, there's that thing I've been wanting to do that I always think, I should start it. But then if you start it, then what are you going to do? And what's the next step? And that's the fun, actually. What we've been, for whatever reason, trained to think that's scary. Yeah. The unexpected is scary. And that comes from, I guess being chased by wolves or something.
Well, there's
maybe we're just too comfortable. But either way, I'll tell you one thing, TV, you got to stop watching TV shows.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not altogether. I pretty much have.
It's all about your diet, your food diet, your information diet, your people diet, who you're around.
Your exercise.
Yeah, your exercise. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. If you're listening to this, hopefully, if you are in a small town or something and nobody in your life talks about this stuff, hopefully you hear us talk about it and then start finding people. And I asked you a question earlier. You did not answer me.
What was that?
Who is somebody that you follow, that you trust like 100%, or at least like 90%?
100%. Let me think about that for a minute.
Because I would put Tony Robbins up there.
Yeah, he's definitely one of them.
Ty Lopez.
Yeah, he's a good one.
And I have to think about the third one.
I'm definitely on board with those two. I've definitely studied those guys a good bit. Well, I'm drawing a blank here. It'll come to me.
Okay, it's not.
Yeah,
we're not on Jeopardy or anything. There's no.
Before we close out here, I'm gonna come up with one.
And, Dean Graziosi is a great example.
He's good.
And here's the thing too. I think that's important to mention is that you're not always going to like the way the person that can give you great advice sounds, and they're going to annoy you. Mm-hmm. That happens a lot. And it used to affect me. It doesn't affect me anymore. Mm-hmm. I just forget about it. And like if that person's giving me good enough information, I can listen to what they have to say. Ed Milet's another great one. He's really good. His podcast is off the off the chain.
I'll say one thing, but I'm also going to say something else right after it. Joel Osteen, have you ever heard that? He's a pastor. And, I really do like his stuff. He's been rock solid for over a decade.
But anybody I ever talked to about Joel Osteen's like, oh, yeah, that's crazy.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to punctuate this with, is that here's the thing. We grow up in a certain place where we have to listen to our parents and family members around us because they're bigger than us. If you're over the age of 16, you're going to be 18 soon. And if you're over the age of 18, you're an adult. The day you turn 18, everything that happened to you from your parents or from your family, from everything else in your life, becomes your responsibility and also your choice to let go and move on from. Yeah. Is it that easy always? Not necessarily, but here's what I want to say. The people in your life, are they healthy? Are they happy? The people that you were born with. And, I get my family, I love my family. Some of them are right there with me and they're my champions. And some of them I don't talk to anymore on purpose. And, we all have those situations. But here's the thing. Who are you listening to in your life? Are you listening to somebody who's miserable, depressed, struggling in their job, miserable at their job, not happy, eating things they shouldn't, drinking things they shouldn't? Is this the person that's in your mind and you're listening to them and sharing opinions with them? Be very careful, because we're social creatures and we will automatically, this is very powerful genetic level stuff. I don't know if it's literally genetics, but from a metaphor, this is the thing that, we'll start acting that way of who we place ourselves around. So you have to saturate yourself with ideas and people and things that are positive, upbeat, successful. Look at what they have. Look at their fruits of their labor. Are they positive, motivated, moving forward? Do they seem healthy and happy? And if they're shaking money around on their Facebook page, it's probably not the real thing. You got to be careful not to get distracted by stuff and things. If people are leading with stuff and things marketing, be careful of that.
Here's an easy way to do it. Are they giving you a lot of free advice?
Yeah,
I feel like that.
It's a sign of genuineness.
And I've said this a million times too, but when you find somebody online, because that's usually the best place to find a mentor right now. I mean, it's pretty easy. Look, just see how much content they have and listen to them. And are they actually giving you real solid advice? And you can, I don't know, maybe some people don't have a good bullshit meter and they can't, that might be the issue.
It can be.
But I'll give you one name. Just listen to Tony Robbins. That's all. That's all I would say.
Start with that.
Just do that.
He'll cut down through the BS quickly.
But I think a really important thing that you were talking about right there is that what I've done in my life, I mean, I have my family that I grew up with, right? But I also have another family of men who have taught me, basically. And I don't know any of them. I mean, I've met Ty Lopez. He's one. But there's at least, and there's a few women in there, but it's mostly guys for whatever reason. And I just listen to them most of my day, besides like working and hanging out with my wife and my son, but my family's still there. I don't take advice from them. Yeah. And that's good. That's okay.
Yeah, you get to a certain point, and moving away from your hometown can be a big help with this. For me, it was. It doesn't mean you're going to do it forever, but 6 months to a year, it allows you to get on your own 2 feet and understand your identity. And everybody's different in this way, and everybody evolves differently. But if you're struggling to find your unique, whoever you are and what it is you're here to do, strike out. Get out there. Doesn't matter what it costs. Doesn't matter what it takes. Get out there and do it, because you're going to be better off for it. The hard decisions that I made to go do those things, I'm very glad I did them. And, it becomes who you are. And if you want to be more, you have to go out and experience more, because if you just sit in your house and wait for something to come land in your lap, you're probably not going to like what comes. Yeah. It's going to be more of the same if you don't change.
If you let life just happen to you, it's not going to be that much fun.
Yeah, typically, yeah.
It's okay to let things happen. That's to let it actually occur. But you have to be proactive in life. So you can't sit back and let stuff happen to you. You don't have to be aggressive either, though.
No,
you got to have confidence and fun. And whenever you're helping people in that
the world will meet you halfway. If you move towards your goals, things will come towards you, but not until you take that step. Whatever that creation force of the universe
it's challenging you.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly.
It's giving you a challenge to step up to. And also, I think the most important thing is that you cannot blame anybody.
No.
Anybody, including yourself.
If you're 18 years old and listening to this, there's no more blame.
At any age.
Even if you're younger, but as you get to the point where you're 18 in terms of everything, it's your game.
Yeah.
And you can drop all that stuff if you want to. Sometimes it takes some time to unravel, but it's worth doing, because guess what? 5 years, the time's going to pass anyhow. You can either be 5 years sitting on that same couch, or you can be 5 years, hey, I'm glad I started. Let this podcast be the time where you decided, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know exactly, what's going to happen, but I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm ready to do this. I'm tired of being the same way. I'm tired of doing this.
And it's going to suck. You're going to hate a lot of it.
Times that it sucks, yeah.
Well, I'll be honest, there's been, since starting my own business, I've had a lot of fun with it, but I've also been super stressed a lot.
Yeah, it challenges you.
And that's a good thing, though. You got to understand that. But if you have the right diet, you're following the right formula, and you're not blaming things on people, you're just accepting what life is doing and then making the best of it. That's the thing. Just to be as happy with everything as you possibly can. And it's really hard to do that when you work at Taco Bell.
Well, you're surrounded by negative and low-thinking people all day, and that's not a judgment, but your mind is just like your gym muscles or whatever. The more you exercise it, the more you're going to be one around people that are in your fitness level. So if you're listening to podcasts, if you're listening to these things, that's fantastic. Keep doing it. And don't let anybody around you slow you down or stop you, because you know where you're going, you know what you're doing. And even if you don't, act like you do anyhow, because sometimes you can fake it till you make it. You don't go out and do things, get out ahead of yourself, but move forward with confidence and life will meet you there.
Here's a good challenge for everybody as we sign off, okay? Your challenge is, there's probably somebody in your life that is more successful than you are, or more at peace than you are, or has a better family
Somebody you look up
dynamic,
to.
somebody you look up to, and they intimidate you, and you don't like being around them because they make you feel bad. Okay, you know they're a good person, but you're like, I'm just not on their level. There's something that you feel it. It's like you can't speak when you're around them, that sort of thing. Find ways to get around that person more often, and study them. Like figure out what their life is all about, and when you get to their level, that's what happens. Is you're like, oh, it's not any different. These people just have more standards.
Yeah.
They have better standards. They have discipline. They don't. Their life doesn't just. It's not this.
And they didn't get there overnight
fluctuating
either.
mess.
If you talk to them, oftentimes they can tell you back at a time where they were in a very similar situation like you were. And if you're like me, sometimes I'm not as socially confident and that sort of thing. I'll write. Sometimes I can think much better when I write. I'll text message somebody that I look up to, because guess what? That'll start that chain. And then now I'm accountable to it. Now, if I say, hey, we should meet up, then they say it. And guess what? I got to go do it. And then I do it that way, where sometimes talking to them in person, I'd be stuttering and stuff. So,
and that's the perfect introvert, extrovert example.
You got to have a strategy that fits your personality for sure.
And that is, we're overloading you with way too much information, okay? But
watch us twice if you need to.
If you're an introvert, be happy about it. That's what I've learned.
Yeah,
over the
celebrate
years.
your introversion.
I've always had FOMO my whole life because I was always an introvert, but I'm right on the edge. I'm like 60-40. So I'd always have this pull. I'd want to be an extrovert, but I couldn't. It was like when I was young. I figured it out now, but that's the thing. I worked on it because it bothered me. But don't let it bother you. It's okay to be that way. Just
there's no right or wrong way to be. Like if you're not a socialite, like honor your weird too. If you have interests, follow your interests, because that's the spark. That's your inner being calling you towards things that are meant for you. Yeah. Follow your instincts.
Unless you're like
interests.
eating bugs or something. That's
even then. I mean,
there's competitions for that probably. If you're the kid in the dirt, like eating bugs out of the ground, there's a career there.
It's okay to be weird.
I would make YouTube videos.
Yeah. You could.
I guarantee on YouTube right now you can search kids eating bugs. There's probably a million videos.
Eating bug contests, eating bug championships.
And this is, the most important thing. I've said that like 10 times now, but it really is. Everybody's already done the thing that you want to do, or not everybody, but people have already done the thing most likely that you want to do in some way, shape, or form. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. So if you go online and you think like, I want to make plastic ducks for ponds, I don't know, and you're looking on, you're like, oh, there's like a million companies. Well, you could probably still do that thing. If you go on YouTube and you see that there's, how many basketball or like trick shot shows are there? Like, just have a unique spin. It's not about the thing that you're doing. It's about the personalities that are on the content.
Yes.
That's where it differentiates. So millions of people can do the same thing. The information's there. The information's not any different.
Yeah.
It's just how the person is saying it affects you and how much you like them saying it.
Well, your personality is what's unique about you. You have a unique aspect that's unlike anything else, and that's what you double down on. Invest in you. People say, "Oh, stock market. I'm investing in this. I'm investing in Bitcoin." Invest in yourself. Take that class. Go to the course. Yeah. Talk to your friends about what's important. Start journaling. Visualize yourself. Buy a Porsche. Throw money around in the air and get on Instagram. Be famous.
Exactly. I think I'm going to put in the notes section a list of people that I just suggest following. So if you have an issue where you don't know how to trust people online, I'll give you a list of people that I follow that I trust like through and through. Never would like steer you wrong. So that can be your list. That's what like Ty Lopez does. He puts out a book list of his favorite books of all time, ranks them. Just go read books on the ones that look interesting. That's what I did. I bought like 5 that were interesting.
If you don't read books, get the audiobooks. If you don't have audiobooks, go to YouTube. There's hundreds of good audiobooks on there on success. And
pay for Audible. Just get Audible.
Yeah, just get Audible.
My God,
it's fantastic.
I mean, I don't have it because I don't like listening to books, actually.
Oh, really? I do. I like it. Audiobooks are for driving.
I don't feel like I absorb enough for some reason. It doesn't stay. Because in the book, you can circle and whatever.
I got you.
All right. As we finish this thing up, thank you, Kyle, for joining me.
KyleDMarketing.com.
RobZRadio.com. We have Lit Live. So Lit is Leadership, Impact, and Technology. You heard that in the intro. But also you can watch Lit Live every Thursday night, 8 o'clock on my Facebook page, Rob Z Radio. We're always giving away free social media branding, marketing tips, and
Be
I
there.
don't know. It's awesome.
That's where it's happening.
That's what it's all about, baby. So we'll talk to you guys next time.
Thanks, you guys, for being here. Appreciate you.
See ya.
This is Rob Z Radio.